What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Today, we have more updates in the ongoing WNBA CBA negotiations, and there is a brand new wrinkle to the storyline as it's been reported that there is a Saudi-backed basketball league that will be kicking off next season, and this could truly change everything. So let's jump right in. I want to give you guys some details about this reported new league that's coming out called Project B. The new basketball venture was founded by former Google and Facebook executive Grady Burnett and his friend Jeff Prentice, co-founder of Skype. It's set to begin with the Women's Basketball League in large part because of the immense growth and interest in the sport. It will feature 6 teams of 11 players, each that play 7 two-week tournaments in cities across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, and it's already 2 years in the making. Now, former WNBA star Elena Beard will also serve as the chief basketball officer, and among the growing list of investors and advisors are some big names like Candace Parker, Steve Young, Novak Djokovic, and Sloane Stephens. The new league will be headquartered in Singapore. Now, it was also reported that LeBron James and Maverick Carter were said to be spearheading the men's side of Project B, but The Athletic reported that they are no longer a part of the project, which might explain why the new league is concentrating on the women's game first. So this league will run for 14 weeks during the WNBA offseason, and the games will be held in many countries around the world, like they said, 7 two-week tournaments. And Saudi Arabia has gotten more and more involved in sports over the past decade. Probably the biggest league that they started was Live Golf, which directly competed with the PGA and also stole some of the biggest PGA golfers because they were able to offer them insane contracts. Like the #1 Live Golf player earned $300 million. Phil Mickelson earned $200 million, and the list goes on and on. And if you want to talk about soccer, Cristiano Ronaldo, he just signed a new contract with Saudi Arabia that is reportedly worth over $400 million for just 2 years. And then Neymar also played with a Saudi club, and he only played 7 games due to injury, but his contract was valued at around $300 million. So the thing with these Saudi-backed leagues is they just have the money. They have the money, and it doesn't seem like they're so worried about the outcome or the viewership or kind of the return in investment that they get. It seems like they just want to be a part of these major sports, and they're willing to throw crazy bags at these top players who they clearly have a lot of value in. Now, there's been numbers that have kind of been thrown around on what kind of contracts they could offer some of these players, and 50 million was one of the numbers that they could reportedly throw at a player like Caitlin Clark. Project B will employ 66 players, and if they increase salaries 10 times, which would be extremely low given the Saudi fund, how will players who make $150,000 in the WNBA turn down $1.5 million? And also, I know that I bring this story up a lot, but if you're new to the WNBA and women's basketball, there was a time when Russia paid Diana Taurasi to only play in Russia. So she skipped an entire year in the WNBA because Russia was able to pay her a salary that basically kept her out of the WNBA. It kept Diana Taurasi out of the WNBA, and then when she came back, it didn't harm her legacy at all. But that is an example of this is much bigger money than any other country has. And if you think for a second that they won't pay 50 million, 100 million, who knows, maybe $200 million to a player like Caitlin Clark, is there an amount of money that is just too big to pass up? Is it something where Caitlin Clark takes that massive paycheck, she skips the WNBA season for a year, and then you kind of see what her true value is in the WNBA? I could see them going after players like Caitlin, like Angel, like Paige, like Asia. Could you imagine what would happen to the WNBA if they get some of the WNBA's biggest stars? And this is also money that Unrivaled cannot compete with Saudi money, okay? I know Unrivaled has done a really good job at paying the players more, but they can't compete with the kind of money that Saudi is able to throw. Last thing I'll mention is, I know that I've said before that I don't see Caitlin Clark ever playing in EuroLeague because I don't think that they just have the infrastructure for her. I think Saudi Arabia would make that happen. I actually did a TED Talk in Saudi. They paid me super well. They took care of us. It was like we were royalty over there, the way that they had us in the nicest hotel hotel in Saudi Arabia. I had a chaperone and someone with me at all times, like car service, all of the things. Everything was such first class when it came to transportation, everything that we were doing over there. And I would see them rolling out the red carpet for Caitlin Clark and whatever she wanted to do. And so that's also the difference I see if she went there. And then with other players who are on that kind of bubble superstar level, since these teams are going to be playing in different countries, I could see that helping them grow their global brand. Now, something that I think is also interesting is Abu Dhabi and Dubai have also gotten involved in basketball recently. And Adam Silver has done a really good job at partnering with these different markets so that something like this doesn't necessarily happen. So even with Experience Abu Dhabi, they are a partner with the New York Knicks. And then Emirates, which is the airline that flies in and out of Dubai, it's the Emirates NBA Cup. So Adam Silver is already making deals with some of these Middle Eastern countries and to bring more revenue into the NBA, but it also serves as like a shield in a sense so they can't go stealing away NBA players. I do think it's so interesting that from this article in itself, it seems like this Saudi-backed league is starting with women's basketball players and they are focusing solely on that. I don't know what happened with Maverick Carter and LeBron James and why they kind of backed out of Project B, but they were able to secure somebody like Candace Parker. So I do actually think that this could be a big threat to the WNBA, especially if the CBA negotiations continue going in the way that they're going. And at the end of this CBA, the women are still not making what they would hope to earn in this league. It's also interesting how much Adam Silver has started stepping into these conversations around the WNBA CBA. It seems like he is going to do whatever he possibly can to stop a lockout from happening. Now, can he step in so much and stop some of these players from, if they are able to get $50, $100 million from another league, or if he's able to stop them from doing that? I'm just not sure. But it seems like the WNBA has a little bit more of a runway right now, and Project B is expected to start next November. And with that, I do want to give you guys an update on where the CBA is at right now. So if you guys watched the last game of the WNBA finals, the Aces swept the Mercury in 4 games. It wasn't the greatest final, honestly. There was like 3 out of the 4 games were not close games. And Kathy Engelbert was actually booed while she was handing the trophy over to the Las Vegas Aces.
Thank you, Holly. Well, we're here today to celebrate a champion. Thank you to all the fans.
The public opinion of Kathy Engelbert is just not in a good spot. And we talked about it in a previous video, how Adam Silver came out and he kind of backed Kathy. Kathy also said in her public statement that she is not going anywhere. She's never been one to quit on anything, and she is going to build back the relationships that need to be mended. But one of the biggest sticking points seems to be on this revenue sharing split that players are truly asking for. And again, if you want to talk about the percentage of the league that the WNBA owns, they only own 42% of their own league. The NBA owns about half of the league, and then 16% of the league is owned by outside investors. And that's the point that I want to talk about today. So in 2022, Kathy led a $75 million capital raise, selling a 16% stake in the WNBA in what the league said was an effort to fund the league's marketing and infrastructure. It quickly became clear that the stake dramatically undervalued the league, and the questions remain about how the $75 million was invested. And that shareholder group in itself is going to be very hard to remove from the overall pie. But if the league is able to give the players more of the revenue share that they're asking for, because they're not only asking for higher salaries, they really want that revenue split to go up with the growth of the league. That's the biggest part. So in 2022, when Kathy felt like the league wasn't doing well, they were continuing to lose money, she could not look into the future and see what was on the horizon. She couldn't see that this big boom was about to happen. And it's crazy when you look back, because it was really only 3 years ago that these new investors came in. And this seems to be the reason that the new CBA can't get finished. It was also reported that the new proposed Supermax is closer to $850 $50K, not $1 million that was previously reported, and the veteran minimum would be around $300,000. And the WNBA denied a fixed salary model not tied to league revenue. So that's the biggest point right there. But I want to show you guys the timeline because a lot of people are talking about this October 31st deadline, but they can extend on October 31st. But I want to give you guys the key dates this year. So November and December are expansion draft and the draft lottery. Last year's draft lottery was held on November 17th. Now that is about a month away from today. They're 1,000% not getting it done by then. But if I were to guess, I would think that they would need to get the CBA finished before January, just so they can have as much of a runway as they need to do the expansion draft, to do the draft lottery, and then to get free agency moving. Because when you start stacking these things, if they're not able to get these things finished before April, which is when WNBA preseason and training camp starts, then that's where it starts to get really, really sticky. And then on February 1st of last year is when players officially signed contracts and free agent signings were announced. So again, that's significant time before the start of the season. April is WNBA draft and training camps. And then in May is when the WNBA season starts. So there is still time, and this is a much better situation than, say, the NBA, where their offseason is much, much shorter. But you still don't have until May to get this done. So when I'm hearing people say like, oh, they have until May, they have plenty of time, they have 6 months, they don't have that much time, okay? There's a lot of things that go on during the off season. It's also like training facilities, practice facilities cannot be open if the CBA isn't finished. So, when we think about these high level players, obviously they are going to have places to go. They have private trainers. They can get into any gym. But where it really becomes concerning is like the mid-tier players, the lower tier players, the free agents who don't know where they're going. And they're kind of stuck in the middle when you have obviously the superstars kind of fighting for the entire league. But those are the players who really get the short end of the stick with all of this. They just want to get on a team, want to know where they're going. They don't have access to all of these different things like the higher tier players do. So with that, you guys, I think that's all the updates that I have right now on the CBA negotiations, where they're at on this Saudi league. Of course, you guys let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that this league could truly rival the WNBA? Do you think Caitlin would be open to going to a league like this? Do you think if she went to a league like this, the WNBA would be over? There's so many questions. Do you think the CBA will get done? Do you think Adam Silver is going to make sure that there is not a lockout in the future? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. Click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Ooh, Anna.